I have a Samsung model PN59D7000 with an HDMI failure. Right now, when I look at my HDMIs, I have nothing detected even though I have a Fire Stick currently plugged in. So let's open it up and find out why. An HDMI failure is typically going to be our main board. So we're going to remove it and bring it under the microscope to diagnose it further and identify exactly where the fault's coming from. I've just removed the shroud off of the main board to make it a little bit easier to access some of the components next to the HDMI ports. And one of the things we're going to be doing is checking for shorts. This circuit board doesn't actually have a HDMI processor. All of the HDMIs go directly to the main processor. So it's not a dedicated HDMI processor. It's built into the main CPU of the main board. So I know that one is not defective or shorted because, well, the TV still turns on. So I believe that doing a short check there would not result in any shorts found, but there are other chips near the HDMI ports that can also fail. So let's go ahead and check those. So looking over here, we have one of our HDMI ports and there's a little IC right here. And one of the caps I want to check is this one right here. And we do have a short. So we get a beep because we have about 5 ohms of resistance. And if I keep going down, every single one of these for each port has that same short. And compared to one of our good boards, we have about 5.7 kilo ohms on that capacitor. I'm a little skeptical that every single one of those chips is defective, but what I'm gonna do is remove one out of circuit and then see if the short is still present. If it is, then that means the issue is from somewhere else on the board. If the short is gone, then that means that that IC chip is defective and all 4 of them will need to be replaced. I'm gonna start by adding some fresh solder to all of our pins. And what I'm going to do is lift one side and then we're going to go ahead and solder the other. And now we should be able to remove the chip. There we go. We'll put the chip to the side because it may be still good. We don't want to toss it out yet. And back in our beep mode, we'll go ahead and recheck this little capacitor. So the short is still present even though the IC is removed, which leads me to believe that something else in circuit is still at fault. So the IC chip we removed from the board is this top one. So let's go ahead and check it for shorts out of circuit. We do have a short here, and then this one was taken from a donor board with a good chip. And we get no beep. So that means that the IC chip is bad and will need to be replaced. We do still have our short on the board, so it's possible that these are in parallel with one another. So what we'll do is we'll remove the other 3 and then recheck to see if that capacitor is still shorted. Right, so here are what I believe to be my 4 bad ones, and then this one is the good one that was taken off of a good board. So again, still in beep mode. The first bad one, when we checked this pin over here to this side, had a short, so we knew this one was bad. Let's check this one now. Also has a short, so that's going to be a bad chip. That one has actually 40 ohms, which is why the beep sounds a little different, but that's still bad. And this one also shorted. So that does confirm that all 4 of these IC chips do need to be replaced. Now let's go ahead and take another look at the board and let's see if the capacitor is still shorted. And I still have a short. So even though we've removed the 4 defective chips, we still have more problems. I installed one of our replacement chips. We still have a short on our cap. So the next step is going to be replacing the cap, or at least removing it, and checking to see if the short is still present. So this is our cap out of circuit. Let's go ahead and do a check. Yeah, no beep. So the capacitor itself is not shorted, but if we recheck the location where the cap was, I'm sure we'll still see a short. And we still do. So at this point, I've done a more thorough review of the rest of the board. I have not found a singular point where I could find a defective component. At this point, I do believe that what most likely happened is the short or power surge that occurred most likely traveled through these IC chips and to our processor. And even though the processor is not shorted, it is defective. So our next step is replacing the processor, and then we'll come back and see if our capacitors are still shorted. So we now have our BGA chip removed. Let's go ahead and recheck our cap. And we still have a short. So the short is not due to the processor chip, it is still somewhere else. After doing a few more checks, it looks like this IC is also shorted. So I thought it was different than the 4 that were connected to each of the HDMI ports that we had removed. But it looks like it's actually a similar chip, but it's not somehow connected to any one specific HDMI port like the others are. But it still has that same little capacitor right here, which is also shorted. So what I'm thinking is, let's remove that chip and see if our short actually completely goes away. All right, so same as before, we'll go ahead and get a lot of solder on one of the sides. And let's go ahead and lift that side. All right, now we'll do the other side. There we go. And now, moment of truth, let's see if our short is finally gone. I'm both hoping yes and no. It's gone. Yeah. Just to confirm, we have a short, so this one was also bad. The cap is no longer shorted, so we'll recheck one more time. This is the last one of those, I guess 5, even though there's only 4 HDMI ports. Yeah. Wow. Let's check this one. Still no short. Last one over here. Also no shorts. All right, so it looks like removing the processor chip was actually a total waste of time and not necessary at all. I cannot believe that I missed that chip. Yeah, I feel really dumb. Well, happens to the best of us, and worst. I'm not saying I'm the best. So what we'll do is we will reinstall our processor chip here that we took off, and I did install here the first of, I guess, 5 IC chips. So I'll go ahead and also afterwards reinstall the remaining 4, and we'll put it back in the TV and see what happens. I just put the main board back into the TV. Now we do get HDMI 4 detected, and it's working. So it doesn't look like we needed to replace that processor chip. It was just those 5 IC chips that needed to be replaced. So if you're doing that repair, check those out first. Don't do the processor like we did. Otherwise, if you have cycling issues, we'll have a video linked over here that you can check out on how to repair that. Otherwise, if you like the content, if you found it helpful or useful, leave us a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.